Johnson.
It is my distinct pleasure to introduce you to the principal of Edison Middle School, Amanda Spranger, who is in her fourth year as principal at Edison Middle School. This is her 26th year working in our school district. When she started working here in the year 2000-2001, she taught seventh grade at Edison. Then, from 2015 until 2019, she served there as academic learning coach. Principal Spranger received her bachelor's degree in elementary and middle school education from the University of Wisconsin, Oshkosh. Then she obtained a Master of Science degree in education from Cardinal Stritch University. Currently, she holds licenses as a principal, a director of instruction, and in addition to her elementary and middle school teaching credentials. To lead us in the pledge tonight, Principal Spranger is very proud to bring with her Allison Sanchez. Allison is an eighth grader at Edison Middle School and is a true leader in our school community. She models respect, responsibility, and engagement in learning. Allison is a member of the eighth grade band as a percussionist, and she is also involved in soccer, softball, and student organizations such as NIA and Unidos. Welcome.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And a motion to adopt the September 23rd, 25 Board of Education agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously 7-0. We're going to try to do electronically more, okay? Safety message.
I was voting. Okay, safety message. You know, and I'll go in a general sense. We always need to pay attention to the environment we're around. And that's where, some years ago, the thought I had is really, where am I at? What am I doing? How can I get hurt? How can others get hurt? You know, and as years go on, it become that much more important. So now, and I'll speaking specifically to my fellow elected officials, as people disagree with our decisions, they may even agree, but just as we think about those things, how we need to be hypervigilant for ourselves, for our families, and we think about everything we do. We can be impersonated. Information can be sent out under our name, whether we like it or not. So it's just those things to make sure that we're just taking a little extra moment to pay attention to just simply what's happening around you for our personal safety and for our family safety. So keep that in mind. But in a broader sense, as I said, this goes for everybody. As we look at what we're doing and where we're at and how can we get hurt, just pay a little extra attention. Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry. Hi, superintendents and commissioners. My name is Amelia Sheridan, and I'm here today to talk about Rock University High School. I've been in the Janesville School District my whole life. I started out at Harrison Elementary School, and after graduating, I went on to Marshall Middle School, and I struggled with some pretty extreme bullying. Going into high school, I knew I wanted a different environment than regular public school. I had really struggled with paying attention, and I felt classes were too slow. So when I heard about Rock University, I jumped at the chance. Not only because they put a large emphasis on education, but they also did a lot to prepare us for our future, and provided the opportunity for students to begin their secondary education journey early and even complete an associate's degree. I'm now a senior at Rock University High School. I'm an aerial gymnast, a member of Student Leadership Council, Historical Research Methods, and I'm also Key Club president. I've received over 40 credits, and I'm taking in college classes, and I'm taking an additional 13 credits currently. I'm set to graduate with my associates in science in May, which will lead me to Madison Area Technical College, where I will petition for the respiratory therapy program. I've completed all of my general education's credits needed, so this opportunity has really put me ahead. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that Rock University provides exceptional opportunities and has single-handedly allowed me to carve out a future that I can be proud of. Rock University's location on Black Hawk Technical College campus has allowed me not only to attend college in person, but also participate in college classes with peers. And it's shown me an environment where people are eager to learn and partake to prepare in their future. The clubs at Rock University have not only allowed me to partake in things I'm passionate about, but they've helped me get involved and give back to my community. At Rock University, education's truly done differently. Some information I would like to share about Rock University is, first off, we have 88 students total, 17 of whom are open enrolled, which is 20% of our student population. This year we have 20 seniors, 9 are graduating, completing their associate's degree. There are 6 who are getting their technical diploma, and an additional student is getting their certificate. So out of students, 16 out of 20 are graduating with special recognition. Additionally, our number of college credits complete continues to rise. In spring 2024, we completed 166 credits. This past spring, so spring of 2025, we completed 286. This fall, my peers and I are going to set a record. We're attempting to complete over 498 college credits this semester, which will be 200 more than we did last spring. Thank you for all of your support and funding this opportunity. I can't imagine paying for it all myself. Along with that, this week, several of me and my peers are going to help Black Hawk Technical College out because they are having their fall festival this Thursday, which is from 5 to 7 p.m. So come check that out if you're interested. Additionally, you can check out our Facebook page and our Instagram page at Rock University. Okay, thank you.
Outstanding. All right. Next, from the Rock River Charter School, Grant Pakes. Welcome, Grant.
Hi there. Good evening, Mr. Holzman, board commissioners, and members of the community. My name is Grant Pakes, and I'm a student at Rock River Charter School enrolled in the GED Option 2 program. I started at Rock River Charter School in January of 2025 as a junior, and I am planning on graduating by January of 2026. Prior to coming to Rock River Charter, I tried going to the Challenge Academy, and it didn't work out for me. And since I didn't have enough credits to earn my high school diploma on time, I entered Rock River Charter School, and I started out with 6.5 credits, and I'm happy to report that through hard work, I will be done on time, potentially even early. And even better yet, I am doing this all while holding down a full-time job. I'm in the GED Option 2 program, which specializes in students who have low credits or at least 17 years old and help us become high school graduates in 2 semesters. In order to graduate with my diploma, I had to go through rigorous programs, which include taking the actual GED test at Black Hawk, and I am proud to say that last week I passed my math test. And next week, I will be doing my reasoning through language arts test. I would like to tell you all about what has been happening at Rock River Charter School. This month, students have participated in Picture Day and Senior Day. Life Touch came to Rock River Charter School and took pictures of all the students. This picture is used for students' IDs and their Infinite Campus pictures. On the same day, seniors dressed in a cap and gown for Greg Little, who took pictures of us outside. This is a nice option for students who cannot afford senior pictures. Next week, there are opportunities for students to attend the Wisconsin Education Fair as well as Manufacturing Day at Black Hawk Technical College. It is a goal of Rock River Charter to have every graduating student attend a post-secondary activity to determine what route is best suited for them. I plan on staying a commercial tire technician, and our first speakers will be the police department, J.P. Cullen for construction, a speaker regarding HVAC, and a real estate agent. The Army presented to us last week. Rock River is piloting a new instructional program called Launches. This program is for seniors and super seniors who are successful at Rock River but were not eligible for a different senior program. There are currently 8 students in this new program. And here's some data for you. We ended last year with 174 graduates. We had 259 students present on the third Friday count, 28 students directly enrolled in Rock River Charter School, bringing new enrollment into the district. There are 78 students currently on the waiting list, and there are many volunteer opportunities which have been offered for students. On Thursday, September 25th, we can bake cookies for the gift shelter. Students are also encouraged to participate in Monster Mash, a kids' Halloween party and Downtown Zombies Run. And I want to thank you all for allowing me to take the time to speak to you about Rock River Charter School and myself. And thank you guys for the continual support of our school.
And next, from Arise, Leela Svek. Did I say that right? Yep. Oh, can't believe it.
Good job.
I did. Welcome. Welcome, Leela.
Good evening, members of the school board, faculty, and guests. My name is Leela Svek, and I am a senior at Arise Virtual Academy. Arise has been an absolute blessing in my life, allowing me to elevate my academic status from a kid who wouldn't graduate on time to a woman who is now excelling in her studies. I attended school in person for most of my life, up until junior year. Most of my post-elementary academic career, I failed my classes, only to get pushed along to the next grade on account of the No Child Left Behind Act. With all those kids surrounding me in class, and a single teacher doing their best to keep all the students in check, I felt that in-person school didn't give me nearly enough time for education. Lessons would stretch across most of the allotted class time, and I failed to absorb any of the instruction. Then, I'd be given an assignment I knew practically nothing about because the entire time, I'd be so focused on trying to focus. Arise changed this for me. With the way courses are built, I'm able to read and reread and reread as many times as I'd like, for as long as I'd like, without the expectation of relying solely on verbal instruction, so long as I turn my assignments in on time. The structure of Arise allows me to learn my way and allows other students to learn their own way too. Arise is a safe space for students that struggle and learn in their own unique ways, and teachers are very understanding of this. Students who thought they couldn't graduate, like myself, get another shot at education with more accommodation than an in-person school can offer. With the availability of open meets, students can join and ask questions, giving them true one-on-one time with their instructor. Arise also holds events every once in a while with monthly field trips that help students get out of the house, socialize, and learn about wonderful local spots. In just 2 days, on September 25th, students are invited to visit the Humane Society in Tallman House. I hope to see some familiar and unfamiliar faces during the upcoming trip. Arise provides students with so many wonderful opportunities, which not only include activities and field trips for students, but the opportunity to start fresh. I'd also like to share some of the other amazing things that have been happening with the Arise students, families, and community. There has been fantastic engagement so far this year, starting with a strong turnout for our Ready, Set, Goal conferences and our open house and ice cream social. Our recent events have also been a great success. Many of our elementary students participate in our first elementary activity day, both in person and virtually. Elementary students are invited once a month to attend fun learning activities. Students became scientists as they explored the scientific method, osmosis, and states of matter with a gummy bear experiment. They made predictions about what would happen when the gummy bears were placed in different solutions. Students also read bear-themed stories and explored the values of numbers, including decimals and fractions, through fun literacy and math activities. These events help our students engage in social-emotional learning, connect with one another, make new friends, and strengthen our elementary learning community. For those who live out of town, there was a virtual option hosted as well, so they could be part of the fun learning too. But the middle and high school open labs also saw great attendance. Open lab time provides our virtual students a chance to get in-person help from their teachers and build relationships. Our middle and elementary school students are currently in the middle of iReady testing, while our high school students are completing mastery prep testing this week. The data from these assessments will be used to guide instruction and support student growth. Looking ahead, we are excited to continue building relationships with our students. Arise students are invited to attend monthly field trips and social events so that they can build stronger bonds with their teachers and classmates. As said earlier, our next event is the Humane Society and Tallman House field trip on September 25th. We are truly committed to continuing these valuable partnerships and building on this positive momentum throughout the year. Thank you.
Outstanding. Thanks very much. Next, recognition of Parker High School as a 2024-2025 WIAA Athletics Award of Excellence recipient.
Good evening, everyone. We're thrilled to be here tonight to celebrate with all of you as Janesville Parker has been recognized for the 2024-25 WIAA Athletics Award of Excellence. We are one of 39 schools in Wisconsin this year to earn this award, and what makes it even more special, it is the first time that Janesville Parker has ever received this award. This is a significant milestone and a true reflection to our commitment to excellence in athletics. This achievement would not be possible without the incredible contributions of so many. I want to send a huge thank you to Mrs. Tanya Liu and our athletic department, our Parker coaches, Parker admin team, our students, our families, the Parker Athletic Booster Club, District Athletics Office, the Parker Athletic Event Workers, our school board, and the ESC staff. We truly appreciate all of you, and this award belongs to all of us. In order to earn the WIAA Award of Excellence, a school must meet several specific criteria focused on sportsmanship and leadership, and I just will share a few examples of what that criteria looks like. So we meet as coaches to discuss topics like sportsmanship and program culture. Our coaches and student athletes attend a leadership conference to develop their skills. At least 3 athletic teams give back to their school or community through volunteer work. The athletic program must have a clean record with no coach ejections at any level. And we continue to improve with the help of our student athlete leadership team, which we call SALT. Last year I had Mia Riley here to talk to you. She was part of the WIAA SALT team. And tonight I have 2 members of the Parker Building SALT team here just to share some of the initiatives that they're working on this year.
Hi guys, my name is Ella Swenson. I'm a junior at Parker and I compete in 2 sports, golf and girls hockey. I compete in athletics not only because it's helped me continue to grow academically, but also athletically, and I'm proud to be a part of that. I joined the student athlete leadership team because I want to be able to make a chance to improve athletics through Parker throughout everybody's careers. Towards the end of last school year and during the summer, SALT team decided to start meetings to discuss opportunities for us to make a positive change and impact on our school's community and athletic programs here at Parker. The mission of our SALT team is to provide opportunity for our athletes to make a voice and a positive impact in the athletic programs that we are leading, while learning essential leadership skills that we can take back to our teams. Our vision is to develop a group of leaders who inspire a positive change and contribute to a culture and excellence in sportsmanship and in our school athletic community.
Hi, my name is Sophie Brown. I'm a senior at Parker and I compete in golf and basketball. I compete in athletics because it's an outlet for me and something that I take pride and responsibility in. I wanted to join the SALT team because over the last 3 school years, I've seen things within my teams I really wish I could change, but I didn't really know how to do it. But with this team, I believe that we can make a lot of great changes to Parker and make it a better place for all student athletes. Throughout our meetings, the team has indicated several opportunities for growth initiatives within our athletics programs. Through our group collaboration, we organize our possible initiatives into 5 categories. Respect and attitude. From athletes, coaches, parents, and spectators, we want to find more ways we can promote positive sportsmanship and community within our school. Practices and training. We're collaborating on how to implement more team bonding, increasing participation, strengthening leadership, and instilling a greater sense of athlete pride and dedication. School spirit. We want to build a stronger sense of school spirit while increasing local and online support, boosting game attendance, and encourage all students and programs to support one another. Mental health awareness, where we focus on conversations with athletes about balancing academics and sports, and the mental health challenges for student athletes who face high pressures to maintain good grades and excel in their sports. And then miscellaneous topics such as outdated facilities, lack of official availability, and improving communication.
This year, our SALT team has narrowed down our focuses to 2 key things. Our number 1 is aligning team core values. We are working on ways that we can be more intentional about reflections, team meetings, captain meetings, and more to strengthen team bonding, achieve goals, and build a stronger school community. Our second thing is increasing school spirit. We want to be able to boost the community support and spirit from everyone around and not just have a couple people showing up to things, and just gain overall attendance in our events.
We want to thank you all for your time tonight and continued support. We are excited to continue this work as we continue to grow our athletic community here at Parker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies, Clayton. So, we're also very proud of you and Clayton for what you've done and your work you're doing for Parker Athletics. It's noticeable and we are very appreciative and grateful. So on behalf of the school board, we'd like to give you this certificate of appreciation. Keep up the good work. Drop the puck this year, right?
Yeah, gotta get it.
Right, co-op team?
Thank you.
Wonderful. I'll see you on the court.
Yep.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you.
Clayton.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. All right, next we have citizen comments. First, we have Josh Goldberg. Josh, if you could give us your address, and we all know we all have around 3 minutes. So
No
thanks for,
problem. Just cut me off when you need to.
All right.
4025 Amherst Road in Janesville. I want to say thanks to everybody. I've been in touch with the board, superintendent, athletic director as well about athletic facilities in Janesville. And I know there's a lot of priorities that you guys have, and a lot of those are on buildings and academics, and that's fine. And athletics always seems to get pushed to the back, and I understand that. That's a natural challenge. But just kind of going with those athletes that were just here, I guess I'd like to see this city and the board and the community give as much time to giving our athletes and coaches and fans places to play and watch as much as those people dedicate to doing and playing and competing that they do on top of their regular academic rigors that come with being in school. And I think that's not really happening right now, and I guess I just want to know why. Being in my position, I travel a lot of places, I see a lot of venues, and I think over the years when I started, when I was 18, I'm 45 now, I've seen a lot of places that have not been held to standards, and Janesville has generally been the best, and I'm wondering how we've gone from best, to my mind, to almost the worst around here. And I don't know if a lot of you have sons or daughters, or you played athletics, or they did, or people in the family, or you go out places and watch games and see other communities. I get that opportunity. And I don't think it really hits home until you see those things and what those communities and people are able to do and fundraise, until you come home and then see what you've got, and you wonder, why can't we do that? And I guess I'm just wondering, how can we do that? And I guess I'm putting this in your hands and looking for a little progression on that, and a creative way to get the public behind it, because I know when it's talked about with money and paying for it, nobody wants to do it. But if you stress and you see exactly how much is needed and how much time people put into it, I think it'll hit home a little bit more. So I guess I'm just looking for some leadership from you guys, whether it's a committee, whether it's one person, whether it's a couple people, to get people involved, to fundraise, to take a look. And I encourage some of you to go down, Craig Parker football. It's Battle for the Monterey Rockets on Friday. Go down and look at the stadium. And then go out to some other communities and look at their stadiums. And then come back and look at Monterey, and you'll probably understand a little bit more what I'm talking about. And it's not going to take a lot, right? But, so that's all. I just wanted to get in front of you and say thanks and for all the hard work you do. And I know it's a thankless job, and I'm just asking for more and a little bit more attention. So 3 minutes are up. Thank you.
Next, Karen BG. I got it right.
I made sure you said it right.
Oh, well, this is true.
You have to look out for each other. Good evening, Superintendent Holzman, Board Commissioners, and esteemed guests. 30 years ago, when I began my career in this district, we had something remarkable, a clear, transparent step and lane salary schedule. This wasn't just a pay scale, it was a roadmap to professional and financial growth. Every teacher could see exactly where they stood and where they would go. The system was beautifully simple yet powerful. Steps represented years of experience, while lanes reflected educational advancement. Want to increase your earning potential, pursue additional credits, or earn your master's degree? The path was illuminated and the rewards were tangible. I was fortunate to work alongside brilliant colleagues who understood this system's potential. They didn't just encourage professional development, they championed it. Get your master's, they said. Take every credit you can. Their wisdom led me to pursue my master's in curriculum and instruction, followed by my library media license with an additional 42 credits. Each achievement moved me across lanes, increasing both my expertise and my compensation. Today's teachers face a starkly different landscape. The comprehensive step and lane system has been replaced by a more restrictive model. Current educators can earn additional compensation for completing 45 hours of professional development, but beyond that, the opportunities largely disappear. This shift represents more than just a change in pay structure. It's a fundamental alteration in how we value and incentivize professional growth. Where once teachers could see a clear trajectory for advancement, today's educators encounter a ceiling that arrives far too quickly. I remain optimistic that our School District of Janesville and the Board of Education Commissioners will collaborate effectively with the Janesville Education Association to design a new salary structure that once again rewards continuous learning and professional excellence. However, while we work toward this long-term solution, we cannot ignore the immediate crisis. Getting our staff compensation aligned with the consumer price index isn't just important, it's urgent. As inflation erodes purchasing power, our teachers' real wages decline, making it increasingly difficult to attract and retain the quality educators our students deserve. The time for action is now. Our teachers have waited long enough for a system that truly values their dedication, expertise, and continued growth. Let's build a future where all staff is able to prosper while pursuing a meaningful career, helping, teaching, and inspiring our students. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Karen. Laura Medicine.
Good evening. Laura Madison. I live at 2206 Kellogg Ave here in Janesville, and I'm hoping that once I'm here for 30 years that I can speak without a timer. So I'm here to talk about a couple different things, somewhat tied together, right? I know that you guys had a closed session, and once again you discussed negotiations. I appreciate all the time that you guys have put in, the time and effort and the thought, especially people that were thinking outside the box. Very much appreciate it. I do want to I know we're looking at some new salary structures, things, and I would like the district to consider reformulating how they do CPI. Because taking a percentage of a first-year teacher's salary and applying it for all certified staff is not an actual cost of living adjustment. And that is definitely something that's holding us back. I mentioned that in the last board meeting. But I also wanted to share a nationwide trend that I kind of knew, but it was a little alarming when I read it. So from 1950 to today, there has been a 100 increase in the number of students in a public school. There's been a 243% increase in the number of teachers, and a 709% increase in the number of non-teaching staff, which are largely administrative positions. In the United States, only 47.5% of people in public school system are actually teachers. I would suggest that maybe the district look at a different way of compensating administrators as a cost-saving effect. I know there's not a salary structure, but I do know that they are getting a cost of living adjustment when we adjust their salaries, but certified staff is not. So as we are looking at a new salary structure, I just kind of wanted to plant that seed. Thank you.
All right, I have no further citizen comments at this time, so we'll move on to item 4, consent agenda. I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Could I,
There's a motion made by Commissioner Johnson and seconded by Commissioner Ardrey.
could I just move the summer school? Sorry, Mr. Stengel.
Sure, we will, is there a friendly amendment just to remove 4.5? So we'll pull that out. Does everybody understand?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna do a voice vote. All those in favor, except for 4.5, say yes or aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Okay, 4.5.
I just want to thank the summer school staff, all of the people, Mr. Stengel and his colleagues for organizing really amazing programming over the summer. I'm looking, nearly 3,000 resident students participated in our summer school in at least one class, and 191 non-resident open enrolled students participated. So when all was said and done, almost 4,000 summer school opportunities were signed up for by students. That's fantastic. These are opportunities that our kids are having when otherwise they may not be supervised. Who knows what might be going on? Summer can get a little crazy. My own children participated in summer school. We have been participating in summer school for 15 years now. And I see that every single year, all of the hardworking staff. I was there one day at Craig High School when there was a tornado warning that went through, and you just have to deal with a lot of stuff. So I just want to give a little kudos, shout out to that programming, and let's just keep doing some great summer school work because it means a lot. My kids make friends every summer. The strength and conditioning programming, I wish that went all summer long. I'm not gonna lie. If we can get that extended, that would be great. I'm sure the staff probably would like to have a break, but just thank you so much for the work that you do.
Thanks, Liz. Anyone else like to comment about summer school? Go ahead.
Yes, I do too. I would also like to thank all the people involved in all the outdoor activities at the Janesville Outdoor Lab. I saw all of those wonderful pictures on our Facebook account, and I was just so excited to see all the faces being outside, and they're happy, but they're also learning, and there's just so much learning that can be done outdoors. So I'm very appreciative of all of that effort, and I know it's a special effort when it's transportation is involved and everything else. So thank you very much.
Entertain a motion to approve the summer school report.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. We'll move on to board items. Number 5.1. Discussion and possible action of the Janesville Education Association 25-26 negotiations pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 111.70, effective July 1st, 2025.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution to impose the district's final offer to the Janesville Education Association's 2025-2026 contract.
I have a couple questions on that. So the way this works out, this offer, it relates to Act 10. I'm correct? So we are kind of, as a board, restricted. I want to make sure I'm clear on the wording. So CPI is Consumer Price Index. Who sets that? We don't. The school district doesn't. Some other governing body sets that. Who does?
It's a number provided by the Wisconsin Employee Relations Council.
Okay.
And so they obviously have their data sources as well, so it's not a number they necessarily generate, but it's a number that they publish to which school districts abide by.
And that varies year to year?
Correct.
Okay. And so part of Act 10 specifies that school boards are limited. Can we just clarify that? So it's CPI, whatever CPI is, that percent on base, and that's language set in Act 10. Because there's a lot of different suggestions that come about, but legally, that's what we're told from Act 10, which is a legal guideline for school boards to follow, correct?
Yes, so I'll probably ask for a little grace in that I don't have Act 10 memorized.
Okay.
Right, so essentially, school districts are bargaining on base wage.
Base wage.
Right, the application of that base wage, right, the WRC does not necessarily have a standard that's applicable to all 422 school districts.
Okay.
Right, so you'll see there's also, some school districts, if they pass a referendum that's exclusive to a wage increase for certified staff, are allowed to surpass that base wage, but that's dependent upon voter approval of a referendum question.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. I had read about the referendum too. Speaking of referendums, we've had two in the last, 2020 and 2024, that our taxpayers very graciously agreed to improve our operating expenses by, was it 14.5 million? So we passed that in 2020, which we desperately needed to be able to continue on with our operational expenses. And then in 2024, we had to go back to our taxpayers to say, please continue at the same level, because we do not have the funds and we would be facing substantial cuts. So I guess I am making the point that I am very grateful to our amazing supportive community, because had we not passed those, we would not be having this conversation tonight. So I am really grateful that we are able to be in the position because of our supportive partners that supported our referendum, that allowed us to be able to consider raises at all. So thanks to our community partners for that. And that's really, I just wanted to clear those questions, because I think there's a lot of confusion on CPI, what that means, who that comes from, and then our limitations, as I understand them from this legal guideline.
Anyone else?
I'll make a motion to approve a wage increase of 2.15% for the 2025-2026 school year, beginning retroactively on July 1, 2025 for all staff groups not included in the certified salary structure.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Good evening. Tonight I want to present to you the new calendars for the 2026-27 school year and the 27-28 school years. So we will share some information tonight about the timeline, the process, and the surveys as well. And then Chris Medenwald is also going to walk you through the two individual calendars so you can see the details on the calendar as well. So a little bit briefly about the process and timeline. A stakeholder committee was formed in April of 2025. We first met with that committee, shared various drafts of calendars with the committee. They provided feedback. We met with that committee again in May of 2025 and made the adjustments and recommendations to the calendar that the stakeholder committee had made. And then one of the recommendations from the committee was that it would be that they wanted the staff to take a survey so that we could get feedback from all staff. So we did administer a survey in August, and we've looked at that data and adjusted the calendars based on that. And then tonight here as well, we are here looking for approval from the board for the calendars. A couple considerations within the calendars. One would be to increase those instructional contact days. Previous calendars had about 170 student contact days or 171. Teachers work in a 190-day contract, so there's not a lot of flexibility within the days. If you take from the beginning of the year, you're adding to the end of the year. But we did increase both of these calendars to have 172 and 173 student contact days. So those were increased by decreasing some of our professional development days. We also looked at distributing professional development days across the year, so ensuring that we do have some in August, but also at the beginning, middle, and end of the year. For example, when we implement a new resource, we do training in August, but we want to give opportunities throughout the year for teachers to have additional training, or after they've used the resource, what are some changes and adjustments that need to be made. So it's important that we have opportunities throughout the year for professional development. We also know that due to the referendum passing, there's construction that will be happening among our schools, so how can we adjust that timeline in the calendar, starting a little earlier and ending earlier. We always continue to work with Rock County districts to find alignment with spring breaks. We found that that is a struggle. They don't all align, and some do not have their calendars out for a year or two ahead of time. So we did look at that and try to do some alignment. And then obviously enable earlier instruction, as you'll see. Next year, we would be looking at starting around August 13th with our teachers, and then students would start the following week. So just so you can see who was on that stakeholder committee group, so we tried to have representation. We had members from all of these groups invited to the stakeholder committee to provide feedback. Not everyone was able to attend, but we did have, we did invite all of those various stakeholder groups and had representation from elementary, middle, and high school. Again, we administered a staff survey. At the time of the slides, we had about 720 staff, but the final results were over 800 staff that responded to the survey, so great feedback. So what were the two questions that we asked on the survey? One, we ask, when would you like to have your professional development days, on a Monday or a Friday? This calendar, they are on Mondays because we had received feedback from staff that Fridays were sometimes hard at the end of the week. But then we heard maybe we want them back on Fridays, so we took a survey. So we were hoping for 70-30 or 80-20, but we had 53.8% that said they want them on Fridays, and about 24% no preference. So we do have to have a cutoff, so professional development days were adjusted in the calendar to be on Fridays in the upcoming couple of years. The calendar for 27-28 needed one additional day in the calendar, and so we asked staff for feedback on that. Would you like to start August 11th? Or do you want to look at the day before Thanksgiving or Good Friday? So we had about 4% no preference, but again, 53% said August 11th, so that is the adjustment in the calendars that we made. So as far as the process and next steps, we took the survey results, we embedded those changes in the calendar, so they are in the calendar that you received this evening. We went and shared this information with PPC for approval to move to the full board. Tonight we're here to look at the full board vote for moving the calendars forward. We need that board approval in order to apply for a waiver from the state in order to start early. So if that occurs tonight, then our superintendent will work with the board on looking at what that process is for the waiver approval. So at this time right now, Chris Meadowald is going to walk you through the two calendars, and then if you have any questions after that, we're happy to answer them.
Good evening, everyone. I know you have copies of the calendar that you may have printouts, or you may have looking at your screen. And trust me, I know it's small because I'm looking at the same size right here, and I'll do my best. I'll try to go through in detail on 26, 27. 27, 28 doesn't have any major changes. I'll go through a little faster on that because really the details are about the same. Allison had talked about starting earlier, so you'll see in August of 2026, starting on the 13th with all staff reporting. We would do what we've done historically the last few years, and the 20th of August of 2026 would be a freshman first day, a Ready, Set, Goal conference, and then all students would report for their first day of classes on the 24th. Going through some of the things that you saw is that staff wanted Friday professional days. The first day you'll see that is October 2nd, would be a professional day on a Friday. And then you'll see indicated on October 15th would be the full parent-teacher conference day. Historically, our parent-teacher conferences, and that would be October 14th in the evening, all day on the 15th, and then historically the following day, which is the 16th on this calendar, is a non-work day. Again, you'll see the Friday show up on November 6th as a professional day in 2026, and then non-work days on the 25th and 27th, bracketing Thanksgiving. One of the things you'll see in both 26 and 27 is where Christmas Day falls and Christmas Eve falls provided a little bit of a challenge for the committee. The committee decided to attend for the 21st and 22nd in December of 2026 instead of taking that full time off. And really the reasoning being is we really wanted that deadline of being done at the end of May. So the only place for those to go would have been deeper into August. And that wasn't one of the things the committee felt was a great choice. Returning on the 4th of January in 2027, the 15th, again, is a professional day. The 14th, the day before, would be the end of the semester. That'd be our halfway point. The 18th on the January of 2027 is Martin Luther King Day, and that would be a non-work day. You'll see parent-teacher conferences show up February of 2027 on the 18th, much like in October. And then one of the things that might look a little bit different is we did intentionally back up a professional day on March 19th to spring break. So historically what we've been doing recently is our professional day is a professional day in the morning, and then teachers, if they have ERT and would like to use that, can use it in the afternoon. Teachers who have that ability could start spring break a little early. You'll notice in the 2027 year that Good Friday does not appear on the calendar. That's because Good Friday is March 26th. And that falls over spring break. You'll see April 16th as a Friday, as a professional day, and then we would be done with students with a half day on May 28th, and then have a full week off before we would start summer school on the 7th. We know we need to take a week off for two reasons. One, having that break is great, and two, if we're going to have employees from other districts, we need to make sure they're actually out of school, because they won't be starting at the same time. So I'll go through the 27, 28, and then I'm happy to take questions. Really, the calendar looks very similar. One of the things you'll notice, we start 2 days earlier, and that was, Allison pointed that out in the survey. We had to find a day to place, and the survey came back to August 11th, so that's where it was placed. And then things look very, very similar. You know, the August professional development, August parent-teacher conference days. Again, 2 days in December that we would show up over that holiday break, getting to January and having Martin Luther King Day, and the 14th being a professional day. In February, you'll see days indicated for parent-teacher conferences, again backing up a professional day to spring break. And then because of where Easter lies, April of 2028 looks a little bit different, and that's because April 14th is Good Friday. And so we put the professional day the day before, because historically Good Friday has been a non-work day in the school district. So that would be a work day in the morning, a professional day in the morning, and an opportunity for ERT in the afternoon to get a little bit longer break. And then we would be done on the 26th with a half day with students, and again taking a full week off before we get to summer school. So I'm happy to take any questions on the makeup of the calendar or anything else. Do the best I can.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Go ahead, Greg.
I think the only comment that I have is it's professional days, and just a little clarity as the teachers or paraprofessionals are, just that level of clarity.
Yeah, and so could we improve on what we do on professional days is probably a secondary question to that, Commissioner. It is, when we're talking professional days, we really are talking for teaching staff, and then if paraprofessionals would like to join us, then we compensate them if we have work for them to do, or if we have training for them to do. But as far as showing up for work, that is for professional staff and teaching staff.
That really wasn't my question.
Okay.
That was just really more of a comment to bring clarity to the calendar of which days do the other staff need to show up for.
So,
Understand it's
yep.
primarily teachers, but just what other staff need to show.
Yeah, so we have not historically on this calendar indicated that is done through HR through a separate calendar once this is approved, and they determine, because the August days, the paraprofessionals and support staff do not work 190 days, so we need to see when they need to show up and when they can be dismissed. So historically, HR has put out another calendar for that once this is approved.
Okay, so to be direct, maybe it should be teacher professional development days, and then that brings the clarity that I'm seeking.
Okay, we can do that if that's what you'd like. That certainly.
That clears it up.
Certainly, we can make that change on here if that's, yep.
I just know that putting together a calendar is a very large task, so I just appreciate all of your hard work that you put into it, but especially surveying the staff and gaining their feedback and then implementing that. It's one thing to put out a survey. It's very telling that you had over 800 respondents in a survey. That's amazing. But it's also something to actually implement those changes so that the staff feel heard. So I really appreciate that. I also appreciate the planner in me that you did 2 calendar years out. I think one of the things that people don't recognize is the planning that you do for our families and for our students, but also our staff. So just thank you for doing 2 years, because I know many districts don't do that. In addition, I do appreciate the timing with all of the referendum and the work, and making sure that the community understands maybe perhaps a little bit more of the why you're starting earlier in August. We mentioned at PPC committee that communication to parents, if this was passed, is a really important part of this, because that is not historically what we have done. Hopefully, with superintendent working with the Department of Public Instruction and getting that waiver so that we can start before September 1st, we'll go through, and that communication can go out as quickly to families as possible so that they are aware and can make plans and changes to any vacations that they have scheduled, because people make plans for vacations. So we want to make sure that students are in school, if historically they have taken vacation, the second or third week. But I just wanted to say thank you for all your work, because it's, I wanted that recognized.
This is really not directly related, but I don't know if we talked about this. Athletics wouldn't start sooner. That just would keep the same normal schedule. We're just starting earlier, and students just will be in class for more. But okay, thanks.
Correct.
Because that might come up too from community members. Is it going to impact? Yeah, but it will not impact our athletic schedule.
The athletic calendars, as far as the seasons, are set by the WIA, and we will follow that same schedule.
Thank you.
I just, I'll speak too early, but where it would impact is our spring athletes. So historically, we've had a conflict at times with people who are participating at the state level, specifically in track and field. And so with an earlier graduation, they would be able to participate in both if they did that. So there was some unintended caveats there that will work for people. It's never perfect, right? There's always opportunities, but our spring sports will generally continue a little bit after graduation, which, for the number of kids, that's fine, but we always have a conflict on Thursday and Friday for state track.
Entertain a motion to approve? A motion and yeah? We're gonna electronically vote? Okay.
All right. Tonight, I'd like to provide an update on the results of the 24-25 district goals. So as we look at the agenda for looking at the update on the results of our goals, I will share with you and review what goals we were working towards in 24-25 and the results of those goals, talk about some areas of growth, information about the alignment of our district and school improvement plans, and some next steps. So during the 24-25 school year, we focused our efforts on continuing to increase growth in reading, math, and attendance, and have seen some significant increases across some of the grade levels. Also, our goal has really been to keep pace with the growth at the state level. And in many areas, we've exceeded that growth at the state level. So we are very excited tonight to share with you some results. So as we look at our strategic plan, one of our priority areas is student academic excellence. And so we have had the goal of focusing on reading, math, and attendance for the last several years. We made an adjustment last year to the goal. We have always measured reading and math, but we had used more of our STAR data to measure growth. Also in math, we had looked at students who were able to achieve a C or higher in algebra. We determined that some of that data was not giving us data that really helped guide providing or adjusting instruction to meet those goals in reading and math. So we aligned the goals to what they're measured on the state report card. So the goal is in ELA in grades 3 through 8 to see a 2% increase on the forward exam. And then also at the secondary level in the pre-ACT, AC benchmarks, those 9th and 10th grade and 10th and 11th grade cohorts would increase by 2% in ELA. That's really mirrored also in the math goal, where we're looking at a 2% increase in increasing the percentage of students proficient in grades 3 through 8 in math, and then similar in ACT and pre-ACT, increasing the growth by 2% in those cohorts. We also have the attendance goal, where we're looking at increasing from that 91.4% to above the state average. So let's look at how did we do on our goals as a district. So by the spring of 2025, we wanted to see a 2% growth in grades 3 through 8 for the percentage of students proficient and advanced. And we had a 2.6% growth as a district in grades 3 through 8 on ELA. So we met the goal in that area forward and exceeded it. When we look at how did the state do in grades 3 through 8 on ELA, they had a decrease of 0.3%. So we had an overall increase, closing that gap with our growth, and they had a slight decrease. When we look at our pre-ACT data and those students in 24-25, their data from 9th to 10th and then 10th to 11th cohort, we saw a decrease for our 9th to 10th graders in reading, but we saw an increase for our 10th to 11th graders in reading, where we saw an over 6% increase. So we saw a significant increase in the 10th to 11th cohort and a decrease with 9th to 10th, so we partially met that goal in that area. When we look at our data in grades 3 through 8 for math, in looking at, again, that 2% increase, we had a 1.1% increase in grades 3 through 8 in our forward data, and the state had a 0.5% decrease. So although we didn't meet the 2% goal, we did exceed the state in growth in that area. What you'll notice in the pre-ACT data for math with the 9th and 10th cohort and 10th and 11th is that we had the reverse. So where 9th and 10th we didn't see as much growth in reading, they made some significant growth in math, where we saw an over 4% growth, and then our 10th to 11th had a slight decrease in that area. So again, we exceeded that growth in the first cohort, and then the second had a slight decrease. So as we look at our attendance data, we wanted to increase that rate in our attendance data to the 92.3%, that is the state average. So while we did not meet our goal in aligning with the state average, we did see this as a positive trend over the last 3 years in our data. That is really, these efforts are really making an impact in increasing our daily student attendance rates. And so we want to continue to prioritize attendance to reach that goal and achieve at the same attendance rate as the state level. So overall, you can see where we have met that goal, some different areas of growth. I also want to do a breakdown a little bit of some of the data where we had some really significant growth at some specific grade levels in the 24-25 school year. So when we look at our third grade ELA scores on forward, we saw an 8.1% increase in proficiency for our students. We've really been focusing in K3 on those phonics, phonemic awareness foundational skills over the last several years. So hopefully we're starting to see that impact in third grade now as we have a significant increase in the percentage of students proficient, while the state's third grade data remained the same and they had a 0% increase. So again, we're trying to keep pace and exceed the state, and we've been able to do that in many areas. Also in 8th grade math, so 3rd and 8th grade math on the state report card make up that component of the report card on post-secondary readiness, and they really focus on 3rd grade reading and 8th grade math and attendance. And so to really see these areas as areas to highlight for exceeding growth will really help impact that growth on the report card as well too. So we saw a 4.3% increase for 8th grade math, where the state saw a 0.2% increase. So again, close that gap and are exceeding growth there. So with our ACT, we've continued to focus on increasing that overall composite score. So we had a 0.8% increase in our ACT composite, and the state remained the same in their growth on the ACT composite. So again, we have continued growth to make, but we're able to close that gap as our growth is accelerated in comparison to the state. Also, when we look at ELA ACT scores, we look at the percent of students meeting those college and career readiness benchmarks. So we had a 14.6% increase on ELA on the ACT, and the state had a 3%. ELA is actually the combination of the reading and English score on the ACT. And for the past 2 years, we've decreased in our school district in our ELA score. So to see a 14.6 increase is really exceptional in that area as well. And when we look at our math ACT meeting our benchmark there as well, in math we saw a 5.8% increase, and the state had with ACT had a 1.4. So again, we had some significant growth on the math and ACT. We're not where we want to be yet, but if we don't accelerate our growth and exceed the state growth, we won't be able to close those gaps. And so it was definitely an opportunity to close gaps again. And then with chronic absenteeism rates, specifically, not necessarily on our overall goal, but our schools have worked very hard with their attendance and chronic absenteeism rates, and we've continued to see a decline, so almost a 4% decrease in our chronic absenteeism rates over the last 3 years. So also seeing some significant growth as well in reducing those rates. So to give you a snapshot and summary of what we just talked about in each of the elementary and secondary areas. So reading overall on our forward reading, in grades 3 through 5, we increased and exceeded the state in the growth, with the most notable gains that you saw tonight in 3rd grade. Some of these areas we didn't specifically talk about in the data, but as we dig into the data, we saw the highest increase in elementary and 3rd grade math, and we saw a slight decline in our 4th grade data, so that will be an area of focus, is kind of looking at our 4th grade growth as well, and those 4th graders moving on to 5th grade. When we look at middle school performance, for their reading, they had a strongest increase in 8th grade reading scores on forward that exceeded the state as well. And 6th and 7th grade reading are areas for focus and continued improvement. In math at the middle school level, all grades 6 through 8 had an overall increase in math on forward. So very strong in math for the middle school as well. You just saw in the ACT scores at our high school levels that our students showed an overall increase in their ACT scores in both reading and math that exceeded the state growth in both of these subjects. Pre-ACT data for our 10th and 11th, we saw one cohort really exceed in reading and one really exceed in math. So we want to continue to focus on those 2 grade levels to try to continue to sustain that positive momentum, but also make sure that we address the opposite subject for both of those cohorts to show that progress. So as we think about those trends and themes and what's the work that's happening in the school improvement plans, again, we've always continued to try to focus on alignment. And so 100% of our schools' improvement plans are aligned to the district goals with reading, math, and attendance, so that we really see that coherence among the district and school goals. We also know that we've really tried to narrow our focus for goals in the school improvement plans with all of our schools. We know if we have too many goals, we really can't focus on anything. So trying to really narrow the focus of the goals and have evidence-based action steps on how to achieve those goals. As a director's team, we try to look at ongoing data. So for example, Kim Perenboom tracks our attendance and chronic absenteeism. So we look at every month, she'll update us on daily attendance rates at all of the schools and the district, as well as chronic absenteeism. And Chris and I will share updates, whether that's Mastery Prep or forward data as well, with the team. And then we engage in those 100-day improvement cycles as well. So every 100 days, they're looking at the growth on their school improvement plans, and then determining if they need to make adjustments. And the directors are part of those principal meetings as well. Chris and I meet both with the elementary and secondary teams monthly as well to look at their school improvement plans and continue to track progress. So just what do those school improvement plans look like? So just so you can see the structure a little bit. So we want them to mirror the district improvement plan. So this is just a snapshot of a building plan where they have an overall ELA goal. And really what we're focusing on, in order to achieve your goal, what are your key action steps? How are you monitoring your progress? And then ongoing status checks of that progress. And the district scorecard will look similar, and I know our superintendent's going to be talking about that this evening as well too. We have our overall goal, key action steps, how we're monitoring our progress, and ongoing status updates. So that will look the same in our other priority areas on the district scorecard as well. So looking at operational excellence, their overall goal as well, and how they're measuring those action steps along the way. So really our overall goal, as we continue to focus on student growth and achievement, is we look at overall as a district, we know we want to increase all schools meeting expectations. So tonight you saw the specific district strategic area of student excellence and what that scorecard looked like in our literacy and math goals. That cascades down into what you saw mirrors a school improvement plan. So they're developing those goals, which also moves from the school improvement plan to those professional learning communities or teams. So if our goal is to increase proficiency in reading at the district and school level, then if I'm a 3rd grade teacher or a 9th grade English teacher, I'm in my professional learning community, and I'm focusing on what % of our kids in our 3rd grade team or 9th grade English team are going to increase in proficiency. As well as the classroom teachers will specifically write their goals around what percentage of students in my classroom will increase in proficiency, all the way down to what we're focusing on more this year, which is student individual goals. So if I'm a student, I'm writing a goal for when I take iReady in January. So how did I do in the fall, and what is my goal I'm going to set for myself in January, as well as students do that within Mastery Prep. So we really want to see that cascade down from what are our district level goals all the way down to the classroom and individual student level. So we're all moving in the same direction to really achieve those goals around student growth and achievement. And so appreciate the work of the support of the board, all of the directors and our building leaders and classroom teachers that put the hard work in every single day. So I will provide an opportunity if you have any questions related to some of the data that we shared on the update to our 24-25 school goals.
Just a few questions. When I look at the 2024-2025 data snapshot highlights slide deck, it said that you had an overall increase in your math data across all grades 6 through 8. Did you implement something that you saw that data? Could you explain a little bit more to the community and to those who are listening as to why that maybe happened?
Sure. And I'll have, if Chris would like to add anything too as well. I think, we have, we know we can have continued work to do to close the gap. We've implemented a new math curriculum. We've talked about too how we've seen a drop from 5th to 6th grade, so we've had opportunities for our 5th and 6th grade teachers to talk about why do we think in that transition time, what does instruction look like in math in 5th grade to 6th grade. I think really we've had more opportunities. We have better data now. We hope iReady will provide that too, but Forward now has really provided us better data to say which standards we're doing well on and which ones we need to have more growth, so teachers know exactly where that focus is. So I think that has helped as well. And so I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, Chris, as well with your work with middle school?
I think the only other thing, and because we've put a focus on math at the middle school level, and when we change the schedule, having the opportunity for flex and having students to get some intervention time, particularly in math, has been helpful for us. We've got to figure out a way to do that better with reading as well, and I think iReady will help us with that.
So I share all that because earlier tonight, we had to make a really hard decision in regards to other priorities. And I share that because we really have focused, and you've done the hard work, but the board has supported new curriculum adoptions over the past couple of years. And it's very, interesting's not the right word, but it's very, I'm happy to see that the hard work and the decisions we made on the financial support to update our curriculum and align our standards are coming to fruition in your presentation tonight, because those are some of the priorities that have not taken place in the past that do cost money. So there are a lot of priorities that the school board and the administration are balancing, and it is a balancing act along with other expenses that continue to rise. So I just want to say thank you to the board and past board members who really made an effort to make that come to fruition, because I think everyone can agree that student outcomes are very important for this district and for our community and for our future workforce. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to share this is a masterpiece of so many people coming together. I mean, really, so many have worked so hard and evaluating data and looking at these scores and, coming back, all of, hardworking teachers and administrators who have gone above and beyond to figure out how we can get our students performing, to demonstrate to all of us that we're making these we're meeting these benchmarks. And I'm probably not saying it exactly the right way, but I know we're all so grateful for all of those hours and all of the hard work. And, I think what I'm continually impressed with is each year as we, receive these scores and we get the state report card, is we're not just saying that's good enough. We're not just saying, well, we were Delta, and even with attendance, much of that we're not responsible for getting kids to school, but we're held accountable for that on the report cards. And so I am, really proud of the work that our entire district has done to help our kids just do the best they can. So thank you, and keep going. I'm excited. This has been building for so long. I'm excited. I want to see those report cards. And do we think, because I know that the report card relies heavily on growth, and it's probably hard to guess, but are we guessing that we're going to see some more favorable results because we are seeing that growth? Because that's one of the key words that we're always talking about.
Yes, we can't predict exactly, but we can say that what we needed to do was make growth at the same level of the state or higher, and we were able to do that in many areas. So whether we get to exactly moving up to meeting expectations or not, I think we have some pretty concrete data to say what we're doing is working and we're making progress and growth, so we can show that we are making progress. I think that's where we think we have potential to be there. But if it doesn't move us exactly there, we definitely have evidence to say what we're doing is moving in the right direction, and we need to continue doing that and adjusting it along the way to make sure our students are continuing to be successful. It's some of the most growth I've seen in probably the last 5 years. So really feel like it's, very positive and moving in the right direction.
I just want to add too, I would be remiss if I didn't go back to my comment earlier and say that it is a collaborative effort, so thank you for saying that. But I do recognize that all of that hard work is done in the classroom. I do understand that. So thank you, teachers and certified staff and paraprofessionals, for providing that support of instruction and delivery of instruction, that these results are coming through to us tonight. So I didn't say that, so I wanted to make sure I included those.
We all really appreciate all of that hard work that's been done to improve our scores in reading and math and show such growth in those areas. However, the goal of attendance is still of concern. So what kinds of strategies have you used to show improvement there?
Yes, definitely. And we, each individual buildings have worked on specific things. They've done a lot of with attendance around tracking student attendance, meeting with those students when they see that daily attendance rates are dropping. They've provided incentivized programs within that as well. And we continue to partner, like with Forward Janesville too, as well as they're committed to helping us look at those attendance rates. But I would also invite, if Kim monitors that closely too as well. So she works closely with our social workers and counselors who really, monitor and work with those students who we see that may be struggling with attendance. And so I'll let her provide some insight on that as well.
A lot of it's relationship building, but we've also gone through our attendance handbook and our attendance policy and fine-tuned a couple of things. So for example, students who may be going to day treatment and getting the necessary mental health that they, support that they need. In the past, that would have been coded as a medical code, which actually counts against our attendance, even though it's medically excused, and we were able to create a day treatment code, and that's exempting them from counting against us. So just going through and looking at some different situations in which we aren't penalizing students or families for doing the right things has also helped to increase that attendance. And just educating parents. Sometimes parents just don't understand, but I do call my child in every single day, or, every single time they're sick. And some people think when they call them in, it's excused, but maybe they've run out of their 10 days, which that's a state law in which parents only get 10 days to excuse their parents for. So there's also an education component to that too.
Anyone else? Outstanding. Thank you very much.
I did want to say, Commissioner Paul, too, when you asked that question, they did make some adjustments again to the cut scores for the categories for the state report cards. So it now is, they've increased the level that you have to be at in order to meet expectations. So that also changed too. So that's just another factor in what that will look like. But it was another change that was just implemented this year as well. So I didn't know if everyone was aware of that. So. Yes, it does change every year, so, thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on, 5.5, update on the Studer scorecard development.
All right, good evening. Thanks for your attention and probably resilience as we kind of work through another presentation here. I want to share with you just some updates that we have first from our pillars, and then as we begin to develop a scorecard, and then talk to you a little bit about what we're doing with our surveys and what's next step. So I wanted to make sure that I started with just kind of sharing with you some of the things that we've been doing and how we've been working with the Studer Group. So you probably recall, or you may recall, that back in March and April, we came to the board with an opportunity to have a partner in continued development and growth. And so Studer had been working with the School District of Janesville for decades before. We stopped that relationship and decided that we needed a third partner, somebody else, to help us continue to look at how we're doing things. And so we started working with Studer in April, and we worked on having some conversations about what a district scorecard should look like, what our pillars were. We did a survey. We've done some smart analysis with those surveys. We went to a leadership conference this summer. In addition to that, we have a coach. Her name is Kathy Miles, and she meets with our team either monthly or every other month, and meets with myself individually every month to kind of help first hold us accountable for the progress we're making towards our goals, and second, give us some ideas and feedback about how we might measure what excellence looks like in the School District of Janesville. And so I'll start by just kind of going back to this big picture here, and Allison showed this before when we talk about our big district aims all the way down to individual student growth. And one of the areas that we're changing this year is under those SIP 100-day plans, we have that department school, and Allison's slide said just school goals. And so now we're working as directors, and we'll talk a little bit about this staff excellence, operational excellence, and family community partnerships, where we are now working on 100-day plans for those, where you've continually heard 100-day plans, but those 100-day plans were developing student and school academic outcomes. And now we're working on what that might look like in staff excellence, operational excellence, and family community partnerships. So just a little tweak to this from our perspective, and we want to make sure that everybody's in line. We do know that the student excellence has been led by and will continue to be led by our learning and innovation team. And Allison, her team, the principals will continue to lead that. But that doesn't mean that they're the only ones who are responsible for student outcomes of learnings. And so I wanted to kind of go back and share with you some of the work we did specifically with our student excellence, staff excellence. These are what we call pillars. And this is the work that we did back almost 2 years ago now when we established our strategic plan. And we put some words and descriptors to what that looks like. And the best way that I explain it to the general public is we want the School District of Janesville to be a great place to learn, a great place to work, and a great schools for our community. So then we say, well, how are we going to go about measuring that? So when we think about student academic excellence, we're going to grow our students, and so that just talks about providing engaging curriculum, specifically to become career college ready, right, and what's next in this world. When we say, what do we want to do for our staff excellence, we want to insist on this professional growth to cultivate skilled and motivated workforce. We know with great people, we have an opportunity to work with great kids. We talk about operational excellence. We want to align our resources and make sure that we're providing modern and relevant learning environments. We want to make sure that the resources we have are funneled into the right directions. So again, like, how are we going to measure that? And then with that family community partnerships, we want to make sure we're engaging with our families and with our communities to enhance our students' educational outcome, to promote stories of success. One of the things that we continue to see, and we heard 3 stories of success tonight, right? Like, how do we tell the story of great things? I probably could have promoted even more. Oh, by the way, right, a young man said, and I'm working full-time, right? And doing all those great things, right? Those are some really amazing things that are happening in our district that we just have to think about, how are we telling that story? So as I go through this process, we start talking about, well, what does student achievement look like? And I think our board and our staff are really familiar with, we want all students to grow, right? And we're saying we want all of our students to grow in reading and math, so the percentage of kids who are proficient grows by 2% per year. 5 years from now, we're standing in front of you and our growth is 10%, right? We're saying, wow, that's pretty amazing. It takes some time. There's lots of small pieces that have to happen along the way, and that's the growth that we're making. When we talk about staff excellence, in general, what do we want? We want to retain staff. We want people to stay here and continue to work through that. We need to make sure that we take a look at our turnover rate for our certified and non-certified staff, and then create this targeted data-driven retention initiatives. The challenge that we have and that we're working through here is we want to make sure that we're providing great professional development. Commissioner Ardrey talked a little bit before about, well, what does that look like and how often is it happening? Well, the first thing we would say is, well, what professional development should we be providing? And in order to do that, we probably ought to ask the people who are working in the job, what do you need, as opposed to telling them what we think you need. So we have some work to do, and we're going to start doing some work on specifically surveying our folks, generating data. So when we come back to you, we can say, our new teacher turnover is blank. I can't tell you that right now. I could give you some approximates. The best turnover rate we have is blank. Here's the people who are staying, and then we can do some interviews and small data on why are they staying. That's some information. And then are there things that we can continue to do to make sure that we're providing good feedback and opportunities within that staff excellence. Operational excellence, we did a survey from the district's perspective, and we looked at all kinds of different areas. And one of the areas that we scored the lowest was timeliness of completed work orders and employee customer satisfaction. The employee customer satisfaction was our administrators saying that we could do a better job of making sure that when work orders go in, or when we get feedback or asking questions, that it's improved in a timely manner. I'll show you the data points, and you have that if you had a chance to look at it before, but it's 4.05. That was our lowest score. So when we think about operational excellence and how do we develop that, number one, it's not just about doing the work. It's about doing the work in a timely fashion so that we can make sure that we're taking that emphasis off of the people who are doing the work so that they can do their work great. So the example I could use really quickly would be that if the Wi-Fi is not working, like Wi-Fi goes down, everybody in this district pauses. Every single person just say, oh, what does that look like? From food service, because you know how we allow kids to pay, like they put the pins in. If pins don't work, stop, right? It's not like we can cook the food, but that's so we're in the classrooms, right? We're taking attendance, we're our phone systems, communication, all that happens. Well, there's a whole lot of people behind the scenes that Brian and his team are working with to make sure that that does not happen. And sometimes we have to implement things to say, you can't do that anymore because it challenges the risk of our Wi-Fi system and changes that. But what we want to do is measure how responsive are we to those things, right? If I have a pencil sharpener on the side of the wall that doesn't work, I want to have a work order to be able to figure that out. It's not a huge thing, but if it takes me a year and a half to get it fixed, we've got to upgrade that process. So that's the short-term measurement that we're looking at specifically there. And then when we finally talk about that family and community partnership, we need to make sure that we do an establishment net promoter score. Net promoter score is how well do I think the school districts are doing in, and you can fill in the blank. And we just haven't done a family parent survey for like 5 years. So we've got to get some feedback. We have some ideas, and rather than me saying we're going to improve X, Y, Z, we're going to ask a few people along the way, and then we're going to put that data points in there so that the board and the public can see where we're trying to improve. So as I quickly kind of go through this, I'll give you the service factors that we use, and this is what some of the feedback's going to be. You know, so when we did a survey, there were about 40 folks that gave us feedback. Asked them, like, can you reach a live person? How long does it take? So if I'm calling the superintendent's office, is someone picking up the phone? Okay, and if they don't pick up the phone, I leave a message, are they getting back to me? Same thing with all the departments. When we do respond, are we giving them the process and the service in a timely manner? Right? How did we communicate that? Was it a good experience? Service with a smile, right? Operations, did we run effectively and efficiently or not so well, right? And again, how did we respond to that solution? So if we go down to the next piece, I just want to give you a survey. This is what we did as a district central office. Studer has helped us with this. They created the survey, we utilized that. The response total is the number of humans that responded. So these were given out to administrators. There are 13 different categories. Each of us, each of those department categories got a response. Some people in those surveys did not have access or didn't engage with that department. A good example would be when I say who filled it out. So it would be elementary principals, middle school principals, secondary principals, our coordinators, our leaders in food service, maintenance, etc. they may not have communication with our athletics. So I use Liz Lido. She probably is not working with the athletics team because that's just not what she does. So their response total does not reflect that they're good or bad. It just responds to how many they have, right? That just kind of give you an idea. Whereas the highest number was human resources, right? Makes sense. Lots of people like have opportunity to exchange with human resources, either A, because I'm hiring someone, or B, because I have something in there. So just that's a kind of general feedback, and I just want to share that. So when you take those 5 categories we talked about before, accuracy, accessibility, attitude, operation, and timeliness, we get some scores, right? And you can see within each department, they all got scores. And from the perspective we used, that timeliness was our lowest score. So our goal is to do the survey again in the spring when we did it, and we want to improve that timeliness score. Well, the timeliness score isn't just one department, right? That's not just IT or maintenance, right? That's everybody trying to help lift that opportunity. That's feedback that we're getting from all of our customers in order to improve that. The department mean and district top box, so the top box would be, there's a scale of 1 to 5. The top box would be the percentage of 5s you got, received. I used a good language while I'm at the board. So if your goal, right, should be to have a great 60, 70% of your scores should be in the top box. That's what you want, somewhere in that range for the goals. And so when you say top box, that means that the percentage of 5s you got. 1 to 5, what's the percentage of 5? And so each department had the accessibility, accuracy, aptitude, timeline. They had that. They shared that with their teams. And then from there, they were able to share general information. So this August, we had an opportunity with our building leaders on a summer PD day where we gave them an opportunity to tell them 3 celebrations we saw from our data, 3 things that we saw that was really good. 2 opportunities, 2 things that we said, you know what, there's some areas of which we can get better at, and this is the 2 areas that we saw specifically that came out to our department. And then 1 action. What's 1 thing that I am going to do because of the feedback that we're receiving? And so part of the reason why I'm sharing you this is because this is the model that Studer has helped us with. And this is the model that the directors and I did first. And so that survey that we did in May and got the results and kind of worked through this process was the first action. And so now we will perform a similar model when we do a student survey, a staff survey, and a parent survey that will happen in October. And so the reason I just want to kind of give you an example of that is because then sometime in December, Kathy Miles, who's our coach, will come back and work with all of our building leaders on how are we going to roll out and look at the data that we receive specifically from the survey. We anticipate that the October 13th to the 24th is going to have to be extended for our parents, specifically because we want to make sure we get some feedback. One of our goals, for example, I haven't told the other folks this yet, but one of our goals is 50% feedback from our parents. We want 50%. Well, we can measure that at every single building, right? At every single grade level, we can say, how are we doing? The model is 20 questions, so it's not like it's going to be a long ways. We'll send it out through Infinite Campus, but we're also going to have it available during parent-teacher conferences. And so what we'll have is a QR code that you could scan with your phone. It opens up the survey while I'm standing there, or while I'm in there, I could take this survey. And it also gives you some opportunities to give us some feedback. The staff survey is the same thing. We'll give them some time during school to do that. And the student survey will be grades 3 through 12. So we'll specifically, our teachers will have to help in grades 3, 4, and 5, but after that, right, we're asking them general questions about, do I feel safe? Does my teacher care about me? Do I enjoy learning? Those general questions that we can work. So if I go back to the top here, to the talk specifically about what our goals are, now you can kind of see we have to grab some of that data in order to help us with some of the staff excellence and family community partnerships. We'll then backfill that. We'll come back to you and say, all right, here's the data that we heard. This is what we heard from our people. And this is how we're going to implement those improvement strategies in order to help us as a group. We've always had really deep conversations specifically about student academic excellence. And you heard tonight that we've made some good progress, and along the way we've made some changes on how we measure that. I anticipate us making some changes on how we measure staff excellence and operational excellence as we get moving forward here. But what I do want to say is, much like student academic excellence, the others aren't just in one area. Staff excellence, when we talk about how we support and retain staff, isn't just an HR model, right? That's, you know, the Google model, or if we look at the HR model in general, and we say the Gallup poll, they'll generally say there are 3 areas that we need to focus on, right? People stay because they have a friend at work, they have a good leader, and they have opportunities to be promoted. Those are the main reasons why people stay at work. There's other reasons. We talked about one tonight, right? Compensation is a reason. We know that we want to make sure that we're paying people and giving them opportunities. But there's lots of reasons. That's not one department, right? That's all of us trying to make sure that we're taking care of each other to make that work. And if we're not doing that, if we're asking our staff for surveys and they're saying we're not doing that, then we can go back and say, all right, we've got to do some of those things. So I wanted to kind of give you a quick but brief overview, very specifically on, here's what we're doing working with the Studer. Here's what our pillars look like: student excellence, staff excellence, operational excellence, family community partnerships. And here's what we're doing and what you're going to be seeing in the near future. The last piece that I'll share is that we've also been utilizing a book called Hardwiring for Educational Excellence. It really shows 9 principles for system excellence. I have some copies here if you'd like one to take with you. I have plenty of copies. All of our administrators have them. The example that I would give you, chapter 2 talks about measure the important things. You heard Allison spend 15 or 20 minutes talking about we're measuring the right stuff and we're making sure that we're measuring that growth. Chapter 4 talks specifically about developing people to develop leaders. How do we make sure that we're developing people so that they can develop others to be the best that they can be, right? It's like you can kind of go through. I think chapter 9 talks about celebrating others. How do you promote excellence within your system and celebrate others? So it's not something that you haven't ever heard before, but it's a general guide that we've been using as a group. And this is an example of our building principles, just taking a look at that, hardwiring educational excellence. And they were looking at chapter 2 at our last PD meeting. So a lot of talking. I don't want the brevity to be that we're not working hard and specifically have a focus. We are working on operating, actually tomorrow, the directors and I are meeting to begin the process of the 100-day plan work for each one of those 3 academic areas. We've always had 100-day plans specifically for our student learning and student excellence, but we haven't had 100-day plans specifically for operational, for staff excellence, and for family community partnerships. And so we're embracing on that work as we speak. Questions?
I'll take one of those books.
All right, thank you very much. Let's move on to the PPC committee report.
Well, I guess that's me.
That's right.
All right. Well, we held our most recent PPC meeting on Monday, September 8th. Thank you to everyone who attended. We started off the meeting with a presentation of the proposed district calendars for the next 2 school years, which we all talked about tonight. So just another shout out to everyone who worked on that. I attended one of those meetings, and I'm really grateful that I was able to be a little small part of that process. The next topic we learned about was the August professional development and new teacher orientation. Just some notes about professional development programming. That planning starts each year as early as February and March for the following August. So there's a lot of moving pieces in there. It was very comprehensive training was provided across all levels, including new training for paraprofessionals. So that was in there. At the elementary level, here are some topics that were covered: summer curriculum work, oral reading fluency, common assessments, new science curriculum, that 5th to 6th grade transition, which we talked about earlier tonight, the mentor program. And at the secondary level, here are some PD topics: summer curriculum work. You're going to see some common themes here: common assessments, the 8th to 9th grade transition, AVID strategies in mentoring. There was also a new staff orientation and a meet and greet. Several board members attended that meet and greet: Commissioner Herda, Richardson, Murray, and myself. And we actually heard some pretty fantastic feedback from the staff with whom we interacted. I mean, really, really positive stuff. So I am glad that we got to be there and be a part of it. The annual highlight is always the staff kickoff day. Commissioner Johnson and I had the privilege to attend that, and I just would like to give some big recognition to everyone who worked hard to prepare for all of these things and that event. You know, it's obviously a really huge undertaking to get everyone together. There was some, great performance from the middle school. Was it summer school, middle school? Those performers, I could not believe that they were middle school students. They were so incredible. And then, it's always exciting to see the announcement of the teachers of the year and staff of the year and that's great. So I always appreciate if you haven't had a chance to participate as a commissioner. If you get a chance, I suggest that you do that. I enjoy it every single year. Where am I in my notes? Okay, next we heard from Jamie Brown regarding insurance broker updates. So we went through a process to find a new broker. There was a RFP, and who was selected was a new broker. I believe it's USI. Is that the right? I just want to make sure my notes were correct. And this group is based out of Wisconsin. They serve 125 districts in the state. And so Jamie Brown was just saying how this is, really favorable because they are really familiar with problems, concerns that other districts are dealing with, even just around our region. So I think that will be really helpful for us and learning from other districts and strategies. So moving forward, we'll see how that rolls out. And then the last topic we discussed was building tours. As some of you know, some of our commissioners have participated in building tours over the last couple of years, and we are expanding, by the way, big news. PPC is arranging building tours throughout the year, and our PPC committee and then the board as a whole will be invited to participate if they are able. So there will be an RSVP process. I believe that Gretchen will will Stacy assist with that? Stacy will assist. So just look for that. And we will need to know who would like to participate, because if more than 4 people attend, then it needs to be posted because of walking quorum rules and regulations like that. But typically these will be a 30-minute tour of a school facility just to highlight some things. Certainly we try to be very mindful of our school professional, the administrator's time, and we don't want to bog them down with a bunch of questions, but it's a really great learning opportunity to get out and see places and learn things and just see what's going on. Our first one will be held at Marshall Middle School, and I believe the date will be October 1st. I'm firming up those details even today, so we'll get an email out to people. So if you'd like to participate, let us know. And then we'll share out further other tour options that will be coming out. The next meeting will be Monday, October 6th, starting at 4:30 right here in the ESC. Look forward to seeing you then.
A couple comments.
Okay.
Liz, you didn't show the superintendent showing off his outstanding arm throwing T-shirts to the back of the auditorium.
I was going to say that.
I get he's a catcher.
You were there then. Were you staying at the back?
I was lurking in the back.
I would have appreciated it if you said that.
The only other piece, and we didn't necessarily have it as an agenda item, but for tours, my committee is also going to do tours, but it's a little different level when you're in some of the bowels of the building. Yes, we'll see some of the academic pieces, but we'll also be looking at some of the infrastructure, particularly with all the work that's being done. That'll be really the focus. So there will be many opportunities to tour buildings. So. Hopping into my committee report, well, we had a wonderful opportunity to spend 2 evenings together. One focused on policies. And I say that, and we approved the majority, but I want to mention there was 3 policies that we need to do a fair amount of, I'll say, review, research, look into, or maybe that's one particular regarding naming facilities. Now the community comment from Josh Goldberg talking about the facilities. I'll get back to that, but I mean, much of the naming of facilities and some of that, we look at sponsorships and looking at opportunities. So part of what we want to do is look at what's out there and really update. Even I'll say maybe it's more of a white paper before it even gets to a policy standpoint of a direction of where we think we should go. So that's one that we'll be looking at. And video surveillance and electronic monitoring, we'll be looking at it in a little more detail. And then lastly, authorized use of school-owned materials and equipment. Just a few questions of how do we manage through some of those items. Otherwise, that was a fun and exciting hour and a half talking about policies. And the next day, we came together to do more of the business side of things, which much of we approved financials and all of that. One of the things that we talked about is really update of where we're at for the roofing projects. And I asked Dave Leader at some point, we can talk about roofs, and if you were anywhere near Marshall, to hear the beginning of the $1.3 million roof replacement there, you heard this vacuuming sound, because literally that's what they were doing. They were vacuuming rocks off the roof because that was the style of roof that was on there. So I just asked Dave to, at some point, go through the various style roofs that we have. Fortunately, we're putting in a synthetic membrane, so that won't have to be the case of having rocks literally on top of the building, but that's what was there. So that's just interesting to hear that sound like a big vacuuming going on. We did discuss the long-range planning, kind of where that's at, and as the bid packages are coming really for the walkthroughs, the first round, which is always interesting. I try to attend those if I can, and Dan will probably offer that up to others. It isn't very exciting, but it's interesting to hear the questions that our contractors have of J.P. Cullen, who really runs those things, and the level of fidelity they really get to. I mean, and sometimes they're digging into various closets and things just so they get a better understanding of what they're doing from a bid perspective. Excuse me. One of the more interesting things, and I see how this aligns with some of this operational excellence, and it's implementing a new district work request platform. So it's on IT and as well as the facilities piece. A new program has been implemented and they're working through that. So it's just interesting to see how that comes together and really to improve the overall efficiency and response rate. Budget development. That's enough, just budget development. Well, we talked a bit about that of where things are headed, which is no surprises. Next month, obviously, that'll be where we get most of the information. But one of the biggest pieces, and I think it is always good from just an educational standpoint. We get into the dirty details and you start talking about the revenue sheet that the money all really comes from. getting to that level of detail, which is preliminary, but still trying to understand what's locked in now, where are the variabilities at, and picking out the probably 10 different key spots is always a big help. So if you get a chance to review, I think there's a video for that, but it's just great as a preliminary. We will do this again as we continue with that educational piece. Also, the other piece, and I know we started to develop a board calendar of when we would expect certain things coming to the board. Well, we're working on doing exactly the same thing from a finance, buildings and grounds committee standpoint of when should we expect certain things to work through that. So, hopes to know for developing the agendas and where are we going. Then lastly, I'll say this may be a little bit of a maybe an outdated conversation, only from the standpoint of we've had our committee structure for a long time now. I remember when we went to the structure, and I could think about when I first came onto it, it wasn't personnel, policy, curriculum. Those were 3 separate committees. We had a separate one for finance and a separate one for buildings and grounds. So Kevin and I were in committee meetings all the time. So we went to a structure that made sense then. But as we look at, really, as the goals have changed for the district and the pillars are different, one of the things I think we really should look at, and maybe Kevin, if I need to put this in a board request, maybe that was what makes sense. Anyway, the committee topic was at least consider a name change from finance, buildings and grounds to finance and operations. Buildings and ground is a bit of an archaic term for that work. Operations is much more encompassing as we think of student nutrition, transportation, and everything else that really falls within that. But then even more so as we look at the pillars, maybe our committee structure should follow something along that line. And then we meet to figure out functionally where do those particular pieces go. So we didn't take any action on a name change. It was really to have that discussion and then to say, let's have a broader discussion of what really makes sense from an overall board management. I know the benefits committee, at least is still on the paper legislative, which we really haven't done much, but let's put a little bit more work behind that, and believe that is the end of my report. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Any comments or questions? I know it's getting late, but I wanted to make sure I asked a couple questions that I'm trying to track based on some public feedback and input. One, how are we doing with the memorial or commemorative item for Coach Dwan Damron? I know we passed that on to committee, but it's probably been at least a year now or so, and we haven't made any decision. Can't we reach some sort of compromise and do some sort of recognition? This kind of fits the pillars, timeliness and responsive to community. I think we've really dropped the ball on this one. So I'm hoping the committee, or do we need to do an agenda board request to get this right on the top of our agenda?
So from a committee standpoint, and I know it rests still with the committee, and we look at how best to do the recognition and that whole naming facilities and that piece, that is really where we were like, do we take a step in not knowing the best step to take? So that was part of us trying to do some research to say, what do other places do? So that's still, it isn't lost on us, but it is still sitting with that.
I had some discussion with people that are interested in that. I mean, could be a simple compromise as a pillar with a plaque with his, face on it close to the facility where, they play soccer. But I think something needs to be done pretty quick. This is getting old, and I don't want to have to talk about it anymore. So I guess I may have to create an agenda item and look for some support to do something sooner than later. Okay. The other item that was actually brought to our attention by a little bit by Josh Goldberg, I guess from what the feedback I get and from what I think is that we need to ask, or how do we determine for future generations about facilities? I'm talking about outdoor athletic facilities. I think there's a fundamental question that I'm not sure we've been able to answer. I think it was confusing at referendum question as it directly relates to Monterey and Riverside Park. Are we committed to Monterey Stadium or not? Are we committed to Riverside baseball field or not? If we're not committed to that, we still have to maintain that because new facilities takes many years, and I don't see any budget item or any appropriations for money to maintain these facilities. And year after year, they're getting worse and worse. If you want to take a tour, there'd be one you want to put on your list, particularly Monterey Stadium. We've had a report of an assessment from there, and it's pretty grave about that structure. So again, I think we need to ask a question to the community and future generations. Where are we going to go? Because right now we're stuck in limbo, and I'm getting tired of talking about it to the public as well. So we got to do something about that. Also, I noticed in these giant documents, is this, I'm not sure which one came first, the big one or little one, but if you look at the capital improvement, there's no money. We have no appropriated money to even maintain what we have. It's directly related to Monterey and Riverside. So what are we going to do? I think this is going to be a big lift for us. And without the community or people telling us we're sticking with Monterey or not, we're sticking with Riverside or not. So in the meantime, though, we still have to maintain these facilities, and we're not. And we're just not. So I guess I might have to make an agenda or request the board to consider these things and set some goals and expectations, in particular to fundraising. We've had this discussion about when we, and I'm taking this one personally because I pushed this very hard to have a full-time head AD, and the compromise was that the position would at least raise funds to pay for their own salary. Would that be pretty accurate? And that hasn't happened. So what are we doing? Where are we going? I know there's a plan out there, and we're real cautious about rolling a plan out right now in light of the Woodmans, the Children's Museum, and the Boys and Girls Club, but I think we need to do something with this as well. This is a heavy lift, and so I guess that's merely, I made a comment, but I think I'm going to be looking for a board member or two to support me in bringing this to the table if we have to do it ourselves and give the administration some direction on what to do. Because we're just kind of wading in the water right now, I think. So that's all I got on that. Thanks for the time, letting me share that. Anybody else have anything on their mind as it directly relates to finance and operations?
Buildings and grounds.
Buildings and grounds. Anyone? All right, future meeting dates, please.
Personnel Policy and Curriculum Committee meeting will be held on Monday, October 6th at 4:30 p.m. at the ESC, and the Board of Education meeting will be held Tuesday, October 14th at 6 o'clock p.m. at the ESC.
Thank you. We're adjourned.